Welcome back to another Real ResQ episode where we are in collaboration with Vertical Magazine's Helicast. You can go to verticalhelicast.com to check out all the podcast platforms where it's the Vertical Podcast Network. You got Hangar Z, the Helicopter Podcast, the Valor Flight Crew, and Vertical MRO Podcast. Again, go check them out. Great information across the board, all in aviation and beyond. Now, a quick shout out to our sponsors. SpectroLab, a Boeing company. Over 50 years of high-intensity lighting solutions for airborne and land-based searchlight systems. Check them out at spectrolab.com. Axness, their mission, wireless intercom. Check them out at axness.com. Ready Bar. It's one meal in one bar. Go check it out at getreadybar.com. And when you get to checkout, make sure you add the discount code RESQ10 for 10% off. And as always, go check out the realresqstore.com and get your Real ResQ Podcast gear. All right, now let's get into our next episode. Here are some fun facts about our next guest. He likes to read and watch sci-fi stuff. Right on, man. After his second career, he was looking for part-time work. So he was hired by the local county as a deputy coroner. He did that for about 7 months and literally thought he had seen it all. He does jigsaw puzzles all the time. But recently he built his first Lego project, which was the Space Shuttle Discovery. And now he is hooked. His next big project for Legos is going to be building Jaws. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome United States Coast Guard rescue swimmer number 98, Mr. Dan Lenihan. My name is Jason Quinn. I am United States Coast Guard rescue swimmer number 500. These are my rescues and rescues from those of us that put our lives on the line every day so others may live. This is the Real ResQ Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Real ResQ Podcast. I've got another United States Coast Guard rescue swimmer with me. He is number 98, Mr. Dan the Man Lenihan. What's up, brother Dan?
Thank you, Jason. Happy to be here. I've been following your work. Good job.
Thank you. It is certainly a pleasure to have you on today, and for many, many reasons. One of them is I love all our stories from our Fender brothers, but you and I particularly, when I came up to Kodiak, Alaska, you were like one of my mentors, my first mentors when I got up there, and I got to just hang out with you and follow you around, and you gave me the checklist, and you were the nicest guy, and it was just like, this is what you got to do. Here's this one. Go here, go there. Give me all the directions of everything. And don't get me wrong, I don't want to take away from everybody else that was up there that taught me so much, but it all started with you and me.
Well, we had a good shot. We had a good, very good crew up there.
Heck yeah. It's good. It's really good. What I find really funny is about like the conversation that we're about to get into. I did not know even like a piece of everything that you've done in your career when you're like walking me through everything. Not a clue. I'm learning it all right now. So it's good. But man, I'm psyched. It's good to see you for sure.
Good. Appreciate it. Your time in Kodiak is, we might mention later our climb up Pyramid Mountain. That was a training event.
Heck yeah. Oh my gosh. The snow, the whiteout.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
We asked the chief if we could go climb a mountain for PT, and he says, yeah, go climb. We thought we were going to climb Barometer, and we ended up going up Pyramid.
Yeah, totally. Oh, yeah, that's when we almost lost Tony's dog.
Yeah. Tony Trout and Kurt, you and me, 4 of us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my God, that was such an epic day. Oh God, I remember that so well. we got up. My favorite part about that was like, it was like, yeah, this is all a good idea. We were trying on some of our new winter boots and some of our other new equipment.
Yeah.
And as we're getting up, the snow is starting to come down, but it was like light. It wasn't too bad. And then we get up like halfway up the mountain. You're like, oh, it's getting a little darker. It's getting a little like, can't really see in front of you. Let's keep going.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think we were on the edge. Oh, every rule.
We broke every rule. We didn't. I don't think we had radios, and
God, no.
It was a short hike.
Short. I think we were gone for like 4 hours, off the top of my head. It was like we were gone for a while.
Yeah. It was good climbing.
Oh my gosh, that's so much fun. Yeah, I do. I remember that very well. Oh, damn, it's amazing. Right on. All right, well, I'll tell you what, Dan, if you don't mind, let's get a little background about you. Where are you from? What brought you into the United States Coast Guard, and then bringing you into being a swimmer?
Well, 1980, sitting in my hometown in Iowa, everybody's doing drugs and being stupid, and so I joined the Navy. And I did 5 years active duty, and while I was in the Navy, I met my wife, and she's from Idaho. So we got out of the Navy, settled back in Idaho. And then about a year later, my construction company laid me off. And I asked my wife, do you want to go back in the military? And she said, yes. And I said, I'll take care of it. And this time I chose Coast Guard, and I got lucky. They were hiring prior service. So I went to a 4-week prior military boot camp for the Coast Guard. Pretty much, here's your uniforms, here's how we do business, get to work, and here's your orders. And so I ended up on a 82-foot Point Countess up in Port Angeles in 1986. And while on the Countess going out on patrol is where I got introduced to the H-52 helicopters. And so we had to show up for a weekend display, static display and stuff. And the helicopter crew wanted a couple of us non-rates on the boat to jump in the water and swim out to the helicopter. And so I did that and got to jump out of my first helicopter. So
yeah.
I was hooked. And again,
they actually let you jump out of it?
Yeah. Well, it was, the amphibious helicopter they landed, and then they brought us up about 5 feet and had us jump out and swim back to our boat. And
that is awesome.
Oh yeah, lots of fun. So, and again, my chief MK and my MK2, I was a fireman. They were trying to get me to go MK. And I said, nah, I'm going aviation. They said, well, you're going to have a 2-year wait. And then 6 months later, I had orders to A school. So.
Oh, dang. Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then the interview for A school by the lieutenant was simple. He says, do you know how to swim? I says, yes. That was my interview to go to ASM A school. Well, I said,
my gosh, that's hilarious.
I said, everybody knows how to swim. You have to know how to swim to join the Coast Guard. And he goes, no, but you know how to really swim. I said, yes, I do. I grew up, like I said, all the children or the people I grew up with as a teenager in neighborhood swimming pools, I got my butt kicked all the time. And so when it come to Navy Rescue Swimmer School in Pensacola, I was not afraid. It was like, I have to pass because, if you flunk, you're going back as an E3 FN to a ship.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's no flunking. No, there's no DOR. Right. You're going all the way.
So, do you know how to swim?
I got me into aviation. So then I was in Port Angeles on my 82-footer, graduated from ASM A school and rescue swimmer school. And they gave me orders to Humboldt Bay. And I put on the thing that I can stay in Port Angeles. They're already online with the rescue swimmer program, and I'm here. No cost move. And they, the powers to be said, nope, you're going to Humboldt.
And man. Right.
And the story.
Well, I do, but I want to actually back up because I want to recognize you for something that was kind of neat. And it was this right here. You got a little letter of appreciation from the command at Pensacola A School.
It was the overall physical fitness award, pretty much.
Yes, that's what it says. Department of the Navy, Commanding Officer, Naval Air Station Schools Command, Naval Air Station Pensacola. To FN Daniel G. Lenihan, U.S. Coast Guard. Letter of appreciation. It gives me great pleasure to commend you for your outstanding achievement in physical fitness while a student at Naval Rescue Swimmer School. During your 4 weeks of intense physical conditioning, swimming, and rescue training, you consistently demonstrated superior dedication and accomplishment in all areas of physical training. Your performance has been exemplary and reflects great credit upon you, naval aviation, and all rescue swimmers. Congratulations on a job well done. That is awesome, man. Well done. Because I don't know too many guys. Now, I'm sure a lot of the guys have gotten it coming out of there, but I've never actually read one. So props. Well done.
Well, I tell you what, the little story behind that was, we talked earlier, after, the Coast Guard ASMs that went to Pensacola for rescue swimmer training, we had 14 weeks of prep work, 14 weeks in A school, doing our tech training, doing our PT training and water training. So when we got to Pensacola, we were ready. And I may be wrong with the numbers, but we had like 40 people in our class, 30 some Navy and 7 or 8 Coast Guard. Okay. Wow. And
yeah,
the graduating class was like 7 and 7. They had over 20 Navy guys DOR. And the reason for that, I believe, was because they came straight from boot camp. They had to go to boot camp and then go to rescue swimmer training before they could go to A school. And they were dropping like flies. And but after the sometime in the 4th week, we were in the pool doing training, and the instructors blew whistles and had everybody jump out. And they called me front and center, and they said, "Get up on that pull-up bar and do 12 pull-ups." And I had my harness and all my gear on, and they said, "You can take all that gear off." And I said, "No, not necessary." So I just cranked out 12 pull-ups, and that got the PT award.
Oh my gosh! You can take all the gear off. Not necessary. Thank you.
That's right. There's a little joke. One of our swimmers, Jerry Hoover, published a book, Brotherhood Offense. Yeah, he mentioned me in there, said something about being Irish and drinking them under the table at night and then out swimming them during the day. So, but I don't remember drinking like that in Pensacola. I mean, we might have gone out and had a beer with our dinner, but but yeah, because two things with that was the Navy was hell bent. The instructors, in my opinion, the instructors wanted us all to DOR. They didn't even want us to try to finish. And the 7 or 8 of us that graduated were like, you're not going to stop us.
Yeah.
We don't go through all that work at A school just to drop out here in Pensacola. No. So that was good. Then of course I end up in Humboldt Bay, and the swimmer program is not online. So that's where we were with that.
So this is one of the cool parts about like why I actually like having guys like yourself on, is because like a lot of us talk about it, and a lot of the guys that have come on previously, the rescue swimmer program was like in the baby process, and certain units were started, certain units weren't, and there was an implementation that was taking quite a long time to get throughout all the units. So Humboldt Bay, you get there, no rescue swimmer program, so that means that one, you're not being qualified as a rescue swimmer yet, so they have you stand in duty. And you get qualified as a flight mechanic on the aircraft. That's awesome.
Correct. The first class mechanics that ran the line crew and ran the floor. I'm just an ASM-3 with no qualifications. And, you got to get up on that H-52 and find all 28 of the Zerk fittings that need oiled. And things like,
I'm sorry, I don't know what that is. I was not on the H-52, so I cannot relate to any of that.
Grease guns. You had to grease up those joints.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
No, basic air crew first, and then it was pretty much hoist operator training. I by no means was I was designated as a flight mechanic in the H-65. Because we transitioned from the 52 to the H-65 while I was there. And I got air crew qualified in the 52, and I got flight mechanic, hoist operator qualified in the 65. And then 1 or 2 rescues, and then the rescue swimmer stand team showed up, and we went online.
All right. Well, let's start with your very first rescue that you remember. What happened? We're going to divert real quick to thank our sponsors.
SpectroLab. SpectroLab, a pioneer and world-leading supplier of high-intensity searchlights for all para-public operations. Visit www.spectrolab.com to learn more about our third-generation Night Sun series high-intensity searchlight. When reliability and performance is critical to your mission, count on SpectroLab Night Sun searchlights.
It was pretty routine. It was a basket hoist medevac.
Okay.
And no corpsman. I can't even remember what the injury was, chest pain or something, but, and they were not far away. The H-65 has such a short range. By the time I got the person hoisted up and strapped in, we were on final approach to the hospital. So,
holy smoke. Yeah, that is close. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, in Humboldt Bay, you were there, the mountain rescues were also, it'd take us 10 minutes to pull somebody out of the woods and fly them down to the hospital, where it'd take them an hour and a half to drive. So,
yeah. Without question.
Bay was,
the windy roads and yeah.
Yeah. And then, a couple of basket hoists I remember doing, and they were both medical related. And of course, we're EMTs now, and so that got myself more interested in medicine and going on. So it was good.
Very nice. Very nice.
Then the stand team showed up, and I lost my crew seat, and I got bumped to the back of the H-65.
And now you put it on a cushion.
Yeah, it's a good place to be.
Oh, I love it. Did you get your first rescue as a swimmer while you were in Humboldt?
Yeah, I don't remember. It was pretty,
Okay, that's all right. So one of the things while you were there, you and I were talking a little bit about it. You actually had an incident during one of your training flights that kind of stands out to you. What was that?
Well, we were out on a night flight, and we had 2 or 3 swimmers in the back, all doing deployments, getting stuff signed off, pilots, the flight mech, the swimmers, all getting stuff signed off, our monthly requirements. And we got a call for a possible body in the water up at Trinidad Bay, which is just north of Humboldt. And so it was my turn to go out the door. So I'm sitting in the door with my feet hanging out and all geared up. And we can see a black torso-looking thing in the water with the lights shining on it. And so they lowered me down, and I swam over there, did my routine. Hello, and I went to grab it and flip it over. And it was a shorty wetsuit with straps on each leg and each foot, and it was full of chum. And it was chained to a buoy and chained to the dock. They were fishing for sharks. And I'm sitting in there flapping my fins, and I backed away from it, and I told the pilot, I called for emergency pickup. Just get me out of here. Pick me up.
Oh my gosh, what the heck?
Yeah. And so, we debriefed when we got back to the station, and I suggested to the pilot or operations that, we ought to contact the sheriff's department and just have them investigate that, because that's kind of risky for us to be jumping in the water at night, in a port full of chum.
Yeah. Yeah. Holy cow. For those that don't know that, that part of California has really big great white sharks, really big ones.
Yes. And there were, the 3 years I was there were 3 shark attacks that the Coast Guard helicopters picked up. All 3 survived. I wasn't on one of them, but they were constant because the sea lions and the salmon were swimming in near the river outlets, and then here comes the sharks, and routinely flying up the coast, just at normal altitude, flying up the coast. You could see the great whites just outside the surf line.
Heck
and,
yeah.
You saw it, and
all the time.
It was on our mind. But
one of the things I remember specifically about being out there was if you ever saw a great white shark, it was all right, we need to go 10 miles out like offshore even further. The pilot's like, we can go like 2-3 miles and we'll be good to go. And I'm like, no, man, that shark is going to close some distance pretty damn quick. Like, keep going.
Yes. Yeah, the predators were always after us. And I can tell you that later too in Kodiak when I got pulled out of the water for the pot of orcas were coming our way. And they probably would have swam right by me.
How do I not know this story, Stan? What the heck?
They would have swam right by me, but the pilots insisted on a pickup, so they saw them coming and I didn't. So, but anyway, yeah, Humboldt Bay was a good tour of duty.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's awesome. All right, well, in that case, once you were done with Humboldt, this brings you down to Elizabeth City, North Carolina.
Correct.
And while you were there, you earn yourself a Distinguished Flying Cross. Well done, sir. Well done.
Well,
I'm going to read that right.
With the help of 500 people, I did. Yeah.
With the help of 500
everybody
people
involved in the rescue.
Yeah. You're talking the whole air station, everybody involved. Got it.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. For sure.
But I'm the one that got to go play in the heavy seas, and that was fun. Well, it was scary the first night. It was fun the next morning.
I got you. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Let me read this, and then I want to highlight two more things because you had a news clipping that you were written up in, and then a magazine article that you were written in. But here's the DFC. Citation to accompany the award of the Distinguished Flying Cross to Daniel G. Lenihan, Aviation Survivalman, First Class, United States Coast Guard. Petty Officer Lenihan is cited for extraordinary achievement while participating on aerial flight on 30 October 1991 while serving as rescue swimmer aboard Coast Guard 860-6008, engaged in the rescue of 4 crew members from the sailing vessel Snowy Egret during the height of Hurricane Grace. The 39-foot schooner was sinking in 35-foot seas 335 miles off the coast of Elizabeth City, North Carolina. Overcoming turbulence and reduced visibility in the rain and darkness, the crew arrived on scene and located the Snowy Egret. However, because of the severe weather and on-scene search time, insignificant fuel remained to recover the survivors that night. So the air crew elected to refuel, await daybreak aboard the aircraft carrier USS America, which served as a refueling platform 150 miles from the scene. As the rescue attempt resumed at dawn, the helicopter hovered over the vessel at low altitude in 50-knot winds with low ceilings and driving rain to hoist the survivors from the turbulent waters. The mission was further complicated by the vessel wildly pitching and rolling in the high seas. Petty Officer Lenihan voluntarily deployed from the helicopter into the raging seas 4 times to assist each survivor clinging to the vessel's sea drogue line. His ingenious use of the sea drogue improved the safety of the hoist. Petty Officer Lenihan's actions and valor were instrumental in the rescue of all 4 survivors. His courage, judgment, and devotion to duty are most heartily commended and are in keeping with the highest traditions of the United States Coast Guard. Oh, Dan, holy shit. How did I not know about this rescue? All right, hold on. I'm not done yet. So here's the news clipping that came out of that. Just a quick little brief about it. Dan Lenihan left in the photo. Coast Guard rescue swimmer was lowered in 20-foot seas as he helped 4 survivors of the Snowy Egret to safety aboard the 860 Jayhawk helicopter. Storm survivors, left to right, are Ed, Russell, John, and Mike standing outside the Coast Guard Aviation's hangar Wednesday afternoon. A Coast Guard rescue crew plucked the 4 men off the Snowy Egret, their distressed sailboat about 300 miles off the Virginia coast. And one more. You guys were written up in, or you were written up in a magazine. Well, I'll say your entire crew was written up in a magazine called Wings of Gold. And actually, this is pretty cool. I like this. It says USCG Hero, ASM1, Daniel G. Lenihan. an H-60 rescue swimmer attached to Coast Guard Air Station Elizabeth City, North Carolina, was awarded the Association for Rescue at Sea, AFRAS, Gold Medal in an elaborate Washington, D.C. ceremony last January. Buddy, are you freaking kidding me? This is still blowing me away that I didn't know any of this. Wow. Dan,
you like that, huh?
Congratulations. Well done, sir. And I will say this, you are correct. It is not only you and your entire crew, but an entire support system at every air station that does it. But now we get into your story. What happened? Run us through it.
Okay, well, so we're in the middle. The whole week was the storm brewing, Hurricane Grace and the northeaster coming down, which created the perfect storm. And so there was a lot of SAR cases going on, different things. And if I remember correctly, I was on the tail end of my 24-hour duty shift. I had 2 or 3 hours left. I was going to be off at 1600. It was 1 or 2 in the afternoon. And I tried to pawn off my duty to couple people in the shop, see if they would cover for me, but everybody was busy with maintenance and everything else. So I said, no problem. Then 5 minutes later, the SAR alarm goes off. And, the standard crew is a 4-person crew, pilot, co-pilot, yep, flight mech, and swimmer. And the swimmer crew seat in the H-60, we got everything we need right there as far as radio control and fuel monitoring and stuff like that. And FLIR trade and, well, they brought along a warrant officer that was an H-60 radio expert, because the H-60, the HF radios back then sucked. So HF radio, 350 miles offshore, wasn't really reliable, and so he was the guru on the radios, and so that's how the case got started. And we launched, and of course it was.
So you launched with 5 guys in the back of the aircraft. That's interesting. Okay.
I would say Commander or Lieutenant Commander Fred Wright. Lieutenant Scott Buttrick was the co-pilot.
Oh my gosh, I love Scott Buttrick because he was up in Kodiak with us too. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, Scott was the co-pilot, and Fred Wright was the pilot, and Manny Rivera? I can't remember Manny's last name.
Manny Rivera. Heck yeah.
Yeah, he was flight mechanic. And so anyway, yeah, we hauled out there as far as we could, and fuel was a concern always. And when we got on scene, the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Bear was out there. I don't know if it was a 210 or 270. Coast Guard cutter Bear was pretty close on scene, and Commander Wright wanted to do a HIFER refuel. We needed fuel, and they wouldn't do it. They said they couldn't do it because of the heavy seas. And so anyway, we tried lowering survival suits to them. I think we successfully dropped 4 survival suits to them. I think we dropped a pump to them, but I don't remember. But anyway, the ship wasn't sinking. It had a broken mast, and they had the trail line out. Sea anchor was out. And so they were just riding out the heavy shit, and we had to bail. And I know Mr. Wright was extremely upset about that. So we landed on the America, wide open aircraft carrier deck, which was cool. We'd never done that. And again, our CO back at the base approved the pilots to do a aircraft landing, because they weren't qualified to at the time, I don't think. But anyway, they got us tied down and refueled. We had dinner with the skipper of the America, got about 4 hours sleep, and took off at 5 o'clock in the morning, right at, full tank of gas going after them. Well, so the night before, I was in a dry suit because we didn't know what the weather was out there. And we were all getting airsick, to some extent, nauseated and whatever. It was rough weather and hot and humid. So the next morning when we launched, I was in a shorty wetsuit. And it was great because we found out from the cutter Bear out there that I forget the currents out there, whatever they're called, the water temperature was 72 degrees.
Oh, that's like that. Beautiful.
Perfect.
You went from a dry suit.
So when we got on scene,
I can totally see you out there, like getting in the water, 72 degrees. You're like, I'm wearing a freaking dry suit right now. This is ridiculous.
It's a training flight now,
Yeah.
We had good comms with them. They survived the night, and so they just lowered me down into the water once we decided to go, and I started swimming toward the sea anchor. Well, evidently the boat was making 3 or 4 knots between the current and the sea anchor, and I couldn't chase them down. So I signaled for a pickup. They picked me up again. We talked for a second, and I says, well, put me down on the rope. I'll grab the rope. And so I grabbed the trail line sea anchor and pulled myself up to the boat, and I climbed on board, and I visited with all 4 people. And then we talked on the radio, and we agreed that the best way to do this, because of the mast, the mast was broken, but the ship was still out of control. So what we decided to do is have, grab your gear, grab what you want to bring, one person at a time. And so I got in the water first, slid down a few feet on the trail line. Then the first survivor jumped in. And then, of course, I got him in a cross-chest carry and basket pickup. And did that 4 times. Each time they had to hoist me back to the boat because the boat was getting further and further away. And but I remember, you're supposed to hang on to the basket until the basket clears the water. So survivors in the basket, I'm holding on to the basket. Well, then the 20-foot waves or whatever they were drop out from underneath it. And all of a sudden, I'm looking down at air below me. I'm like, where'd the water go? So I let go. Another basket pickup. But anyway, we got all 4 on board and hightailed it for home. And did you hear the rest of the story?
No, I don't know any of the story.
Oh, wow. So it gets better.
This is why you are here.
So we're 340 to 360 miles offshore, and we're heading for home. And we've got plenty of fuel. We have 4 survivors. We have the radio operator, flight mech, all of us on board. So I'm sitting on the floor, the deck, leaning against the life raft with my eyes closed. I don't even think I had a headset on. And I smell smoke. And I look up, and our cabin is full of smoke. We had a cabin fire going on.
What the?
Yes. Well, not fire, but what happened is one of the black boxes, the big, IT boxes, navigation, blew. And, you know how many circuit breakers are up in the aircraft? Hundreds, literally. We lost 40 or 50 circuit breakers, smokes in the cabin. I remember the first thing the pilot ordered was call it in to Air State Kodiak, in-flight emergency, not an SOS, but an in-flight emergency, not a Mayday. And then we did whatever the procedures call for evacuating smoke out of the cabin, slowed down to a certain speed, opened the door, got the windows open, and we lost all navigation. There was shit was down, and that was 70 miles off the coast. And at that point, and I may be wrong, but the pilots knew they were flying, toward the coast, and they could see the coast at one point. And once we got to the coast, we just turned left and took us right home, heading south from where we came in. And C-130 flew up to cover us, and it was pretty scary. At first.
Oh my God, man!
Smoke in the cabin. Just fried that helicopter. I don't know what happened, but
holy shit!
So of course, when we land there, everybody and their brothers out on the ramp, the CO and the ambulance and the news media, and that was the big deal. Of course, now I'm bagged out, so I don't have to do any refueling or I don't have to do any cleanup. I just I get to talk to the reporters and then go home and hug my wife.
What the heck, dude?
I think it was. They said it was 18 hours from when we left Kodiak to or North Carolina to when we got back. So
wow.
Then, needless to say, all the other rescues that were going on at the same time out there, all around us, up by Cape Cod, south. Everybody was getting hammered during that storm. And I tell you, the 860, that's what it's for. That's what it's for. And I hear now, after all these years, that they're almost at the end of their limits.
Yeah, they're working on it. They're working on it. That's all. That's the only thing I'll say. They're working on it. So
Yep. So that was a big case, and we had several other people get similar cases in the next few days. Close to shore, wherever. We were all over the place.
Jeez, oh man. We're gonna divert real quick to thank our sponsors.
Axnis. The Axnis PNG wireless ICS system delivers cutting-edge wireless ICS technology to any aircraft as a fully integrated system or as a carry-on, carry-off mobile base station. The PNG wireless system is the right solution for any mission.
So I want to back up to it. I got a couple questions about this. First one, how did you get coordinated with the USS America? Was that pilots? Was that the command center?
I don't recall because again, I wasn't on ICS. I was on just a headset, and they put me on radio if they needed me. So I don't hear. I just heard we're going to the Navy. Navy's got an aircraft carryout. They left their squadron at home, and just took the ship out to sea, and it turned out to be a good resource. I hear other Coast Guard. I heard another Coast Guard helicopter got fuel off them, but I don't remember the story behind that one.
Okay, cool. Right on. It always interests me about that, like how that happens and where the communication comes from to make that coordination. Like, so I'm always curious.
Well, I'm guessing, the operations center, was coordinating with, the whole East Coast powers to be that were, managing all resources, between Chesapeake Bay and offshore and up and down, north and south, all the way up to, Maine. Everybody was getting hammered on that storm. So, but it was good. It gave me faith in that helicopter. Let me tell you, it was a good helicopter.
Oh my goodness. All right. Next question. You get on scene. You just mentioned that you get lowered down to the drogue chute, the trail line that's coming off the boat. And you are going hand over hand up the trail line to then grab the boat, basically a muscle up out of the water onto the boat, and to be like, "What's up, boys? You guys doing all right?
Pretty much.
Get you out of here."
Pretty much. Asked them if everybody's okay, and they each had some sort of gear bag. And I says, "You have everything you need?" "Yep." They're ready to go. They wanted off that boat bad. And
oh my God, dude!
Yeah, and it was lost at sea, the snow egret, I'm sure, because it was disabled and it was taking on water, but they didn't sink. They obviously were good overnight. So
yeah,
but I'm surprised. I can't remember if I offered or if they said something, but I'm surprised I didn't get left on scene with them to help them out. Between radios and my gear, I would have been happy to sit there. Maybe not. I would have been more than responsible to stay with them and then come back and get us in the morning. But pilot said, "No, you're going with us." You never know where we could land on the carrier and be broke, and then you're stuck out there waiting on somebody else to come get you.
Yeah, no doubt.
Keep the crew
Oh
together.
my gosh. Yeah, right. So I bring that up because I find it amusing to me. Like, and I really truly believe that every one of us swimmers, we think we can catch the boat, and we probably can once. And after that, nah, good luck.
Yeah, it was full throttle, full throttle as fast as you could swim.
Yeah.
With gear.
So, yeah. Like max out. And I remember that specifically in mine. And I remember it like Mason out of Humboldt Bay. He similar ended up grabbing a line and doing like hand over hand to go up this rope, and then it just the wave took him backwards. So what I love about this is the fact that you did this in 1991, and we still hear a lot of the same stories today.
Oh wow.
Oh, yeah, it warms my heart.
Well, and I didn't know anything about that marine accident where the ship, Marine Electric, whatever the name of the ship was, off the coast of Boston that sunk, and 30-some people in the water in 1985, 86. The Coast Guard went out, and the people were so hyperthermic they couldn't pull themselves into the basket. And then U.S. Congress asked, why does the Coast Guard not have helicopter rescue swimmers? And I signed up for the Coast Guard just at the right time, so it was dumped in my lap.
That is awesome. But it just, like I said, I love it. I love it. Like 1991, you had a mission like that, and then we still hear guys today that are running into the same scenarios, and everybody's learned so much from stuff like this of what you've done. That's what I love about sharing these stories. But again,
Yes.
hand over hand, rope pulls. Welcome to CrossFit. All right, we're gonna do a rope climb, muscle up at the top, and then jump in the water and swim.
Yep. And like I said, it was really the anxiety was gone at night. We were in violent weather. I'm not going to throw numbers at you, but it was nasty out there, and I had my dry suit on, and it was warm in the cockpit or in the cabin, and I was not feeling good. I kept the trash bag nearby in case I got sick, and then when we landed on the aircraft carrier. And got a shower, got dinner, got cleaned up. When I went back out the next morning, it was totally shorty wetsuit. And when I hit the water, I had a smile on my face. I really did. This is no brainer. We got a full tank of gas, and I feel good, and we're gonna get these guys. So.
Oh, that is epic.
So.
Oh, Dan, that's awesome.
Yep,
I love it. Well done, sir. You and your entire crew. But nice job.
Shout out to Master Chief Jelikoska and the other folks in E-City that were there, because you want to talk about training. You try doing a litter hoist of Master Chief Jelikoska. He's a tall man, and he had a Gumby suit on. I couldn't even get around his right shoulder to get a cross chest on him. He was so big. And so that's the kind of people we trained with. In Elizabeth City, and a lot of good crew there.
Oh, that's
including
cool.
The mechanics, the command, operations, everybody involved was pulled off that mission. So especially
incredible.
The pilots. I know Scott took the helm a couple times during the flight to give Commander Wright a break. Depending on what we were doing, but. Yeah, and then you add rotor wash to it, and it's like, no big deal. It's just a training flight now.
Wow. That is so cool.
Yeah.
Dan, thank you so much for sharing. I still can't believe I didn't know that story when you and I were working together in Kodiak. Maybe it was just because I was young. I didn't know. I didn't know to ask. I didn't know what I didn't know. So
we were between training and SAR. Kodiak was one busy place.
Oh yeah,
like a lot of the stations are. We were always on the move.
Yeah,
and so it was hard to sit down and visit and have get-togethers. Somebody's always on duty.
Yeah, and somebody was always gone.
Yes.
It never failed. So
yeah,
man, Dan, thank you so much for sharing that story. Do you have any others that stand out to you while you were in E-City?
A lot of medevacs. And we had flight corpsmen, and I can't recall one particular, but we had plenty of medevacs, full-blown chest pain, heart attacks, amputated fingers. It was a blur. It was a blur. Again, a lot of medevacs.
That's great.
We were in the shop in Elizabeth City, and right across the street was a supply building, and a poor gentleman that worked the supply cage where you get paychecks and send money orders and whatever, he died of a heart attack right on the spot, right in across the street from the swimmer shop. And we got a call from the corpsman, said, get a couple guys and head over there. And so we were over doing CPR on the gentleman. And then the ambulance showed up with the corpsman. They got him intubated and IV started and got him to the emergency room. We heard he passed away. So he just passed away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but who do they call? The corpsman says, we're getting the ambulance. Get your butt over there. So, I feel sorry for the gentleman. He wasn't that elderly, but he died of a massive heart attack right in the shop, right across from us. So,
oh, that's too bad.
So we were always out doing stuff like that and helping out around. So, and then, of course, in East City, they offered me the paramedic program.
So I was just going to shout that out to you because you went above and beyond while you were there, and you got the next level, like two more levels of medical training while you were in East City. Heck yeah.
Yeah, well, I enjoyed the emergency EMT training. I enjoyed it, and CPR and all that. It was very interesting. And then I wasn't in East City a week. I was still unpacking, and the local newspaper had a story about the two counties upgrading to paramedic level county service. They didn't have paramedics. So me and one of the corpsmen filled out an application and interviewed with them. And they signed us up along with 10 or 12 other people. And it was almost about a year long. 2 nights a week, hundreds of hours in the hospital, hundreds of hours in the back of the ambulance, all that, and then paramedic level care. Well, I still only functioned as a basic EMT in the back of the helicopter because we weren't.
Right. But having that extra knowledge it's worth its weight in gold. Because then you can evaluate even further, like on what's going on with people.
Our flight surgeon recognized that, and he made sure that some of the other corpsmen went through paramedicine training as well, and we were pretty well stacked with high-end medical people, and you needed it. You know how it is when you're that far offshore.
Oh yeah.
One bottle of oxygen is not enough.
No.
To get you home. Especially if you're running at 15 liters a minute, and so we. But I enjoyed that local Pasquotank, Camden County volunteer rescue. We ran ambulance 1 night a week for them. So pretty much, 1,800 hours to 0600 the next morning and then go to work at the base. So.
And if they find you upstairs, taking a little like cat nap, I can understand why. Or if they didn't find you. Oh, that's funny. Right on.
It was
Dan,
really good training.
Wow.
Yeah, so
what a great time in East City. Props to your unit there. Well done, sir.
Well, and we'd never been to the East Coast or North Carolina, and by the time I transferred, I wanted to extend and stay there. It was a nice place. I liked it. So
excellent. Well, I'm from the East Coast, so I love the
there
East
you
Coast.
go. Yeah.
So maybe I'm
biased. Well, here I am on East Coast time now. Go figure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're getting closer, Dan.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, it's funny. All right, so now you actually take a little bit of a break out after you leave Elizabeth City because you go into recruiting out of Denver, Colorado. Did Correct. A couple years up there, and then after that, you came back into the rate where you and I had a chance to meet to Kodiak, Alaska. But before you did that, you were asked by, I guess it was Senior Chief Bear, who's running Kodiak at the time. Correct. He was like, "Hey, Dan, you can come back up, but you got to go to Advanced Swimmer School, or AHARS as it's known now."
Yes. Well, and
what happened?
Just a little background on that. I only had 2 operational units under my belt, Humboldt Bay and Elizabeth City. So 6 years of operational rescue swimmer duty, or actually 5 with, before Humboldt Bay went online. And so I was still pumped about going to an operation unit. Well, I just got fully qualified on the H-60 in all manners, radio, crypt, FLIR, you name it. And
yeah,
when it came time to transfer, I asked the detailer, I put in my dream sheet, and he calls me up and says, "You're going to Miami." I says, "Well, you found Miami on my dream sheet, huh? Down in the least desired area that I want to go to?" I don't want to go to Miami. I says, "After all this training on the H-60, I do not want to go back to the 65s. Can you send me to any 60 unit?" And he just had it in for me. He said, "Nope, you're going to a 65 unit." And he says, he goes, "I have a note here on my desk that they're desperately looking for recruiters for the Coast Guard." And at the time, my wife and I had 2 young children who are, now grown adults. And I says, "Do you want to move to Miami with our 2 kids?" And she's like, "Nope." And so it was a family decision. So I interviewed for recruiting. And they still talked about Miami. And they asked me if I spoke Spanish. And I said, "No, I do not, unfortunately." And so I ended up going to Denver. And recruiting for Coast Guard personnel out of Denver, Colorado was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it
You
sounds
walk
rough.
into high schools. You walk into high schools with a Coast Guard uniform on, their jaws just drop because a lot of the high
What the heck's
schools
the Coast Guard?
yeah, a lot of the high schools in Denver, the Army recruiter had his own office, or a
Oh
Marine
yeah,
Corps
for
recruiter.
sure.
Yeah, those big
Yeah.
high schools. Yeah, those kids that aren't going to college, they're the Army's right in there to scoop them up, and then I show up and they're like, "Get the hell out of here!" But we covered a 3-state region: Wyoming, Colorado, and Utah. And we signed up 5 or 6 people a month. That was it.
Wow.
So we were always on the road, always hunting. And, one of my best memories is that 2 things happened. I signed up one guy. I got some waivers for him. I did him all kinds of favors, and he got kicked out of boot camp for attitude. And so the CEO of the boot camp calls our office and chews us out and says, why don't you screen these guys a little better? And, we took the medicine, said, okay. And then we sent a 17-year-old girl from Wyoming to boot camp, and the same commander called us up and said, wherever you found her, go find 20 more of her. She was a Spitfire. She was a Spitfire, one of the best recruits we hired, 17 years old. So,
wow.
So then I thought, I've only got 3 or 4 years left on my enlistment. Do I stay in recruiting? And then Scott Bear and I were in touch. Scott, and he says, well, when are you coming up to Kodiak? And I says, well, I'll come up to Kodiak. I don't care. And that's when we found out about the Advanced Rescue Swimmer School. And so they set me up for that. And they told me to be ready for it.
I love how you just said they set you up for that. Yes, they did.
Yes, they did. They said you have to go and you have to complete the training, or you're not getting orders to Kodiak. I said that's fine. I'm an ASM. I can handle it. So I grabbed my gear. They sent me a couple of new pieces of gear, and I got everything I needed and flew out there, and proceeded to get my butt kicked by everybody. Oh yeah, we got hammered. We didn't get a chance to do cave rescue just because the conditions weren't right. We did everything else, but just going out on the runs and doing PT with my fellow Finn brothers. Let's just say I wasn't as good a shape as I thought I was. So, but I graduated, and an example we talked about earlier was, the training we had this day was they put a raft on an anchor just quarter mile, half mile offshore. The waves are coming in super high. They said, go to the raft from the shore. Just go to the raft. We had full gear. I never made it past the surf line. I got hammered so bad. I came out of the water with a broken fin, a cramp in my right calf. My mask was off, and the instructors are just clapping their hands at me. And I wasn't the only one. Only about 7 or 8 people made it out to the raft.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny.
So it was good training. Good training.
Oh, I love it. I love A-Horse. It's an amazing training experience. I
you have salt water inside and out. You got a whole lung full of salt water, and your hair, everything is salt water.
Oh, so much fun. We're going to divert real quick to thank our sponsors. Ready Bar, originally made for astronauts, now designed for first responders and built for you. This high-performance meal bar provides complete nutrition without the sugar crash. A must-have for any helmet bag, swimmer bag, or everyday pack. Get yours today at getreadybar.com and use the promo code RESQ10 for 10% off. Ready Bar, zero crash, all fuel.
Yep.
All right, so you do that, you get up to Kodiak, Alaska as your twilight tour.
So I ended up 4 years recruiting, 94 to 98. So June of 1998, I transferred to Kodiak with my family. And then when I got there, Olaf Lavelle, George Cavallo, 2 chiefs, Scott Bear, senior chief. I was stationed with Senior Chief Bear in Humboldt Bay, so he knew me, and he knew that I was reliable. So that helped me get orders up there, I think. And so they were all there, but Scott was on his way out to retire, and we had a full shop, 18, 19 people. And again, we hit the pool the first time I was there, and my eyes were like this. I was like, holy cow, I'm in trouble now. Man,
You get in the
underwater
pool, you're
soccer.
like, yeah, I got this. And then you're like,
Yeah.
big wide-eyed. No, I don't.
Yeah.
I
Underwater
got to build back up to
soccer
this.
with the brick. Yeah, underwater soccer, upside. Oh, doing the escapes, the UER, where they strap you in a seat and you got to get the rebreather.
Oh, yep. All the Hewitt training.
Us swimmers were the instructors for that. So all the flight mechanics, we'd strap them in, and we wouldn't mess with them. But if you were a swimmer and you got strapped in that chair, that's all they did is mess with you.
Oh, yeah.
They're trying to grab your gear while you're trying to get the rebreather. They made it very difficult. They made it very difficult to pass the training.
Oh, gosh. It's so much fun.
And things like climbing mountains. The chief says one day, why don't you guys go climb barometer? And if you remember, I call him Dr. Bob Watson. Dr. Bob could get up barometer in 45 minutes, and the rest of us were about a half hour behind him. But it was just a straight hill climb, you know.
He's a freaking mountain goat. Yeah.
Yeah, just
him and Jason Budge both. Freaking just mountain goats. Go.
Yes. Yep. And so we had a heck of a crew there, and we had 3 shifts too. So yeah, pretty much 3 shifts. And so, but I got there, spooled up on the 860 again, and off we go. And I'll mention it was my very first rescue in Kodiak. We had a small fishing boat, like a 14-foot boat with 3 boaters. They hit something in a bay somewhere nearby and flipped the boat. And all 3 people are missing, and we're trying to find them. So we fly by this cabin along the shoreline, and we see a guy waving to us. That's one of them. And so they decide the pilot doesn't want to hoist me. He wants to just hover about 5 feet and have me jump out with my first aid kit and then go see him and talk to him. So between the flight mechanic and myself and my first aid kit, I did jump out, and the gunner's belt was still on. Three slaps on the shoulder. 3 slaps on the shoulder. I jump out to land on the beach, and next thing you know, I'm hanging by a gunner's belt. And I look up, and I can see the rearview mirror from the pilot. Oh, what was his name? I'll have to think about that. But the pilot's just shaking his head. They lowered the helicopter down a little more. I got on my knees, unhooked my belt, cleared everything, thumbs up. And then all 3 people were picked up. Nobody hurt. So that was my first 860 rescue. Yeah, oops.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, and then the same pilot, I forget. I'll think of his name in a minute, but he roasted me at my retirement over that, which was fine. So,
as he should. That's a worthy story to be roasted for.
Yeah. But Kodiak was a great tour of duty. Between the Bering Sea deployments, operations, and between LPAT, we had no lack of equipment, gear, and aircraft to take care of, and we had super busy training all the time, hypothermia training, water training, on and on and on. Just, Kodiak. But, one thing I mentioned on a training flight in Kodiak, we're all well aware of static electricity from the rotors. And so they're going to put me in the water and fly away, and we're going to do an aircraft relocation. Piece of cake. It's daylight out and everything. Well, as soon as my fin hit the water, I felt this jolt, and I thought the flight mechanic or the helicopter did something, jerked the cable, and I looked up at the flight mechanic. I gave him a, what are you doing? He looks at me and goes, what do you want? And so they put me in the water, and I unhooked. Well, my dry suit immediately started flooding. I was taking on water. And so they take up the cable, and they start to fly away, and I called them on the radio, hey, I'm declaring emergency pickup. And then I waved the emergency pickup, whatever the signal was, and they came back in, picked me up. I crawled in, climbed into the troop seat, and I had water gushing out of my dry suit. The static shock blew a hole in my dry suit.
Oh my gosh!
And so the pilots were like, everybody was like, "What's wrong with you, Lenihan?" Well, you know, I says, "I'm telling you, I got a hole in my suit." And they're like, "Well, didn't you bring a good suit?" I said, "No, it just happened." So we got back to the shop, and I showed everybody, and that static arc from the rotor wash blew a hole in my dry suit.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, jerked the cable and everything, and I was like, okay. You know, that's why when they lower a basket to the deck, you don't want fishermen grabbing the basket. You know,
let's touch the deck
first. Yeah, so that was a fun one. But Kodiak was, you know, Kodiak. You're out in the water in the middle of the day waiting to do training, and something bumps you from behind, and you're like, you turn around, it's an iceberg. Not an iceberg.
Oh my!
You know,
I remember this story very well, very well. And the reason So the reason I remember this story is because the same thing happened to me like years later, and I remember you telling me the story of like, you're gonna get like, maybe this will happen to you, blah blah blah. And sure as shit, it totally did. Is you're in the water and you get bumped by something. You're like, what was that? And then you turn around, there's like a block of ice floating behind you. You're like, oh my god.
Yep.
Oh, it's no joke.
Yeah.
It's no joke.
We were transitioning to the two things going on in Kodiak at the time were the C-130 side was shorthanded, and they wanted us to get some of the ASTs, aircrew qualified, and also to help out with, you know, more maintenance on the C-130s. So we were taking turns doing that. And then LPAT, the decision was made to put swimmers on 2-week patrols to go out to the Bering Sea. You know, I was on the Mellon, the Coast Guard cutter Mellon was gone for 90 days or whatever, but we would just meet them in Dutch Harbor or meet them in Cold Bay, wherever the ship was, get on board with them, and then do a 2-week deployment. And that was a lot of fun.
So I didn't have to do that in my time. So
you didn't have to, huh?
Nope. No, so when I was there, I don't know if it was just Alpat that took those or they stopped it. I don't totally remember, but I do remember I did have to get qualified on the C-130. So at one point or another, we were qualified for the most part on all 3 airframes in Kodiak.
Yes.
So,
yeah. And I really enjoyed the C-130s at that point in my career because, you know, I'm getting ready to retire, and they have a bathroom and a microwave on the C-130.
Yeah.
You know, so you know how you had to relieve yourself if you're in the 65 or the 60. So but that was cool because, you know, we went up, you know, some of the places, you know, Nome, Alaska, and the far reaches of the Aleutian Islands. We were way out there, and you know, and they'd get a medevac, you know, halfway to Japan and fly whatever. They fly a C-130 with a fresh crew as far as they could go, and then the helicopter would bag out and land, and then the fresh crew would get on and continue on to do the rescue. And then, so I spent many nights in the back of a C-130 sleeping, you know, wondering where we're going to land when we wake up in the morning.
Yep. Oh my gosh, such a good time.
Jason, good duty.
Yeah, for sure. Are there any other rescues that you remember, like your last one by chance? Or I'll tell you what, do you remember your last swimmer flight?
I remember going on a flight with them, but we didn't deploy. We just went on a trainer, and then they took time to fly over my house. I owned a house up there in Kodiak, and so took time to fly over the house, and my wife got to wave at me, and I took pictures from up in the sky, and that was my last flight there. But you know, I meant to tell you, Humboldt Bay, my last flight. So I'm packed up, ready to move. I'm done. Everything's packed up. My gear's all boxed up, and I get a call and saying I have to cover duty because somebody was sick. One last time. Okay, so I get a duty, and sure enough, we get an overnight. We get a overnight case, missing boater. You know, boat missing, hasn't returned, and so we look all night for him. We go back and get fuel and get some sleep. Go back out at dawn. We go back out at dawn and find him. Well, the guy's deceased. He died on his boat from a heart attack, and the boat was just out there floating around. So they put me down on the boat, and then I waited for the Coast Guard small boat crew to come out and take us in tow. and I rode with them into and everybody was like, all happy, jolly, and, what a nice day, with this poor dead person that died of a heart attack, until we got to the pier. When you got to the pier, there's the family and the sheriff's department and the coroner and everybody else. And you're like, then it hits you, how serious it is. But that was my last case in Humboldt Bay, just recovering.
Oh my gosh.
Recovering a deceased person from a vessel, so yeah. So
just goes to show you never know what we're going to get.
No.
Yeah.
But
wow.
Kodiak, it went pretty fast. Again, they won't wait. They don't care about your retirement. We got flights to go. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
We had my retirement in the shop, and just whoever wanted to come over to our shop, come on over. And made it quick and easy. And then we had a bunch of people out to my house and got everybody to sign my plaque. And that's good, because if I forget who I was working with at one particular unit, I can look on the back of the plaque and find out most of the people I was working with.
Absolutely.
Which was what, 24 years ago, 25 years ago.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. When you say it like that, you make us sound old, Dan. I'm not old yet.
Well, I'm old enough to be retired, but not old enough to sit on my butt. So I'm still busy.
That's what I'm talking about. That's awesome.
Yep. Yeah.
Dan, you had an amazing career. I am so happy that for you and everything that you did. And thank you so much for coming on and sharing it. I've got one final question for you. I like to close this out with just a piece of advice. So everything you did, everything you went through from your entire career, and I'll even throw it all the way until now, like everything you've done since the Coast Guard. If you had a piece of advice to pass on to everybody, what would that be?
You always have to take it to the next level in training. Don't get by with the minimum. When you do your monthly tests and your monthlies, don't get by with the minimum, because it'll come back to haunt you. And that's everything from medical training to PT training. Don't just crank out your 5 and 5 on the pull-up bar. Do more than that. And you remember Bob Watson's push-up routine in Kodiak?
Oh God, yeah. Your chest was hurting for a week.
Yeah,
and then he'd say, okay, it's time to do it again.
If you completed it, you did 257 push-ups by the time it was over. And that's the kind of training Kodiak did all the time, thanks to the right people. And I'd say just take it to the next level, even when you're training. Like, the pilot's out, hey, Dan, what do you think? Do you want to deploy? Yes, I do want to deploy. I don't want to sit here and drink my coffee. I want to jump out of the helicopter.
Yeah, but
take it to the next level.
I love that, man. I love it.
What you and Kurt did with CrossFit.
Yeah, I'm still trying to keep up with that boy.
Yeah.
Oh, it kills me. That's all right. Dan, thank you so much for taking time to come on, join me, and share these amazing stories and an incredible career. It has been an absolute pleasure to see you and talk to you again. And I can't wait until the day you and I get together again and we can have a nice whiskey on the rocks.
Right.
Or neat, if you like it. I'm up to, it's up to you. All right.
I got it. All right, Jason. Well, thanks for everything you're doing too, and all the attention you're putting out there for the right people, because they, now more than ever, people need to know what it is we do out there, and whether it's the fire department, ambulance, or helicopters, there's a big demand for that, and it's a great career for people that want to get out there and stay busy.
Yes, sir. I totally agree. Well, thanks, man.
All right, Jason. I salute you, man. Good job.
Sir, thank you very much. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here.
Go.
Now, it's time for me to pull chocks and take off. But before I go, I'm always looking for the memorable rescues that people have done. If you have one that you're willing to share, or know somebody who has a story, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to highlight it here at the Real ResQ. For everybody that is standing by for that SAR alarm, remember, those in distress are praying for a miracle. They are going to get you. So until next time, fly safe and swim hard. Thank you for joining me today here at the Real ResQ Podcast, powered by Vertical Helicast. We'd also like to say thank you to our sponsors for this episode.
Axnis. The Axnis PNG wireless ICS system delivers cutting-edge wireless ICS technology to any aircraft. As a fully integrated system or as a carry-on, carry-off mobile base station, the PNG wireless system is the right solution for any mission.
Ready Bar. Originally made for astronauts, now designed for first responders and built for you. This high-performance meal bar provides complete nutrition without the sugar crash. A must-have for any helmet bag, swimmer bag, or everyday pack. Get yours today at getreadybar.com and use the promo code RESQ10 for 10% off. Ready Bar. Zero crash. All fuel. And
SpectroLab. SpectroLab, a pioneer and world-leading supplier of high-intensity searchlights for all para-public operations. Visit www.spectrolab.com to learn more about our third-generation Night Sun series high-intensity searchlight. When reliability and performance is critical to your mission, count on SpectroLab Night Sun searchlights.
Is my question about the funniest thing that happened to you on a swimmer flight, training swimmer flight?
I would have to say trying to put Master Chief Jellicoska in a litter for, offshore.
Okay.
Struggle. Everybody struggled. He's laughing at you while you're struggling. You can't hardly tow the man, let alone slip him into a litter. And then you get him strapped in the litter. And yeah. You knew you were going to get a workout. If you went out with the top fin on a training flight, you were going to get a workout.
Oh, I love it. That'll work. Thanks, man.